All right, good afternoon. Welcome to the Athens-Clarke County Board of Elections Voter Registration regular meeting for the month of July. Time is 4:35 p.m. We're currently at 120 West Doherty Street in Athens, Georgia. First item on the agenda is to adopt the agenda. The chair will entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
I second.
Motion, Ms. Till, second, Ms. Fambro. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, agenda is adopted. Next item on the agenda are the approval of minutes. There are 3 sets of minutes. I'll read the dates and then members can review. After that, I'll entertain a motion to adopt them or approve them, excuse me. The minutes are from a regular meeting, which was on June 13th, a special meeting, which was on June 20th, and a special meeting, which was on June 27th. And those special meetings were our public hearings for the precinct changes. So hearing no changes to the minutes, the chair will entertain a motion to adopt the 3 minutes and it listed in the agenda of the slate. So moved. We have a second?
Second.
Motion, Mr. Shirley, second, Ms. Till. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The minutes are adopted. Next item on the agenda is public comment. Could someone bring me the list, please? All right. We have one person wishing to make public comment, Jacqueline Elsner. I don't think we'll go over time, but timer anyway, go ahead.
Hi, Jacqueline Elsner, 315 Caldwell Circle. Good to be with you again. Talking in favor of y'all's choices of the polling locations, the precinct changes for particularly election day. I have 2 family members who vote on election day at the fire station at Hawthorne and Overpope Avenue, which now, if your proposed changes go into effect, they would then vote at Overpope Avenue Elementary School. And they both said, we never knew why we were voting here at the fire station when the other place is just down the road. But anyway, I think y'all have done superb research and you've tried everything you can to find appropriate a change of election day polling places. And I just applaud it and hope that you'll pass what you do. Thanks.
Great. Thank you. At 2 minutes and 15 seconds to spare. All right, the next item on the agenda is the director's report. And I believe it's a good one. So the chair recognizes the director.
Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're doing well. You have your outline of what I will go over to you, starting first with the activity report. You will find that it looks a little different. It does have the active and inactive voters, eligible voters, and how many new voters added. I would like to have that removed because when you look at the active and inactive numbers, it includes more than just new voters added. If that's something that y'all would like to remain on your report, we'll keep it, but it really doesn't fit in the formula, so to speak. Cancellations, we've had a total of like 41. 45. Well, when I look at the total felonies removed and deceased, that equals 41. It doesn't equal 45. So if you would change that to 41, I'm not sure where the other 3 are. Yeah, 4 are. Maybe it's voters requested, maybe it was 4. This was changed to 0. Okay, so then that number should be 0. And the cancellation total would be 45. That's right. We removed the number of people who transferred in and transferred out because That's not really something that can be challenged per se, but there are provisions that allow a voter who might have been canceled for deceased or felony by maybe error. So that's why that combination looks the way it does. You have, or that we are reporting that we had 10 more voter IDs requested and issued than we had last month. Makes that 36. Year to date, we have 192. So there are, moving on, there's 2 calls that needs to be presented today. One is the call for the special election for the city of Winterville for a vacant seat that was vacated. And this special election will be held in conjunction with the general municipal election in November, which is November 7th. The qualifying dates was set by the ordinance of the city of Winterville. Qualifying dates will be Monday, 21st of August at 8:30 a.m. And it will continue daily from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. and qualifying will end on Wednesday, August the 23rd, 5 p.m. And that is according to the official code of Georgia 21-2-132, I believe it is. 132, yes. Then there is a call for a special election countywide, and that will follow the provisions of 21-2540. This particular special election will be held in conjunction with the general municipal election. You, as a part of your agenda last month, stated that the qualifying dates will be the same as the city of Winterville, the general municipal election. Again, that's following the 21-2-132 guidelines qualifying. The clerk of court seat was vacated effectively May 31st, 2023. And the code section requires a minimum of 2.5 days of qualifying. That's 2.5 days. And because of the statute or the ordinance by the city of Winterville, we're going to follow that same guideline. And that was your vote. I would like to remind you of our upcoming events. We have National Poll Worker Day on August the 16th, and Lisa is going to give you an update on that, as well as honoring our poll workers. And then following that, Pam will update you on National Voter Registration Day. Aletha will update you on National Voter Education Week. And then, of course, I wanted to highlight that we will have our election education forums on October 3rd, which will be presented or will be, the information will be surrounded by or perspective to the elected officials and political party specifics. And then our second forum will be October 5th, and it will be voter specific. And more information will be provided on those dates. But if Lisa and Pam could provide us the information, and as well as Aletha. Thank you.
And so National Poll Worker Recognition Day is August 26th. As I told you last month, we have 2 events scheduled on August 14th and August 15th at the library for a private showing of a film called No Time to Fail, which is all about poll workers and all the work that we did during 2020. They're going to watch that, and then we'll have a little party for them afterwards and recognize people who've had more than 10 years of service with us. We're looking at some really nice facts for them. I think there is one thing on that we added to Charlotte's update that you didn't mention is National Disability Voting Rights Week, September 11th through the 15th. We've got several events planned during that week. One of them, the main event, is at the library, and I'm sorry, I don't remember which one of those days it is right now, but we can update you on that further next month. We're going to set up tables in conjunction with some other departments that can provide information for disabled voters also, and set up voting machines for people to test out using and other information for the day.
Thank you. Okay, September the 19th is the National Voters Registration Day. And so we're planning on actually celebrating it the whole day. Starting it out at the election office. We're gonna do another lemonade stand, I guess, so people can come by and get them some lemonade. And if they haven't registered or if they need any questions in regards to voter registration, we'll be able to assist them as well. Also, that evening, we'll be having activities from 6 to 7:30 at the Athens Regional Library. Basically, doing the same thing without the lemonade stand, just informing the voters on, to see if they're registered and anything they need to have them vote ready. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And then there's National Voter Education Week. We want to educate our voters on the elected officials and our voters of Athens-Clarke County, just to help them understand voting and what you can do and what you can't do. And we haven't set those dates in stone just yet. We're waiting on confirmation back from the library, so that we can make sure that we're ready to educate our voters and our elected officials.
What? I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I have my full attention always.
The next thing is, or the next item is to talk about the timeline and effective date of the polling location and precinct boundary changes. So just to update our public, our board of elections, Athens-Clarke County Board of Elections held meetings, hearings, and workshops to determine what our polling locations, our district lines look like as far as our polling location boundary lines. And today we'll vote on when these particular changes should take place. And I just wanted to just to kind of reiterate facts that I recommend that it be delayed until the March presidential preference primary rather than prior to the November election. And so I hope that you will keep those things in mind.
I think that's the consensus.
Okay. All right, Ms. Branch. Thank you.
I mean, I don't know for sure, but
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
We
talked about it. Okay. As well, I would like to request consent of the board. I think you have it as a part of your agenda to make some kind of resolution or vote that we would move on with the department's name change from the department itself, where the operations of our department would be named Athens-Clarke County Department of Elections and Voter Registration, rather than the Board of Elections and Voter Registration Office, so that there's some differentiation between the board, who are the policy makers or handles the policy side of elections, and then the office side who handles the operations of elections. So that's something I would like to get your consent of. I know it was discussed earlier this year, but I would like for it to be in a form of a vote or motion so that I can take it before the mayor and commission as an agenda item. And then our office would be referred as the Athens-Clarke County Elections and Voter Department of Elections and Voter Registration moving forward from that point that it's approved. Also, I just wanted to inform you that I will be attending the annual meeting of the Elections Assistance Commission, LLC, which is the local leadership council. It will be held in Washington, D.C., July 20th and 21st. And I'll be participating in a panel discussion as a panelist of looking ahead to 2024 with challenges and concerns. I'm really excited about that. As we were preparing, a group of us with the EAC and the LLC, we talked about, what are the challenges and things that we foresee for 2024 and what concerns we have. And I've gotten input from staff, and I'm looking forward to sharing that and coming back with some ideas from other states, how they're preparing for 2024, so that we're more proactive than reactive going into 2024, because we know that it's going to be similar to 2020 without the pandemic, of course. And we want to really be prepared. And So I wanted to let you know about that. I'm tentatively hoping to tour some museums. There is a tour of the Capitol that I probably will miss because I'm trying to get back for some other things that I have going on Saturday, that Saturday. But I do plan to attend a summit of the 2022 Elections Administration and Voting Survey, which is the EVES report. And I know you're familiar with the EVES report, but I'm thinking about attending that. So it depends on how my travel is and when this actual summit would take place. As far as open records request, Ms. Audra, I know you're gonna be glad to say that we had
0 open records requests for the month of June. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes. But there are some that's waiting to be responded, so
It just came.
so we're getting back on track. And I want to also, it's not part of this, but yesterday we had the opportunity to listen in on a hearing of the U.S.
U.S. House of Representatives,
House of Representatives.
House Administration.
Yes.
Field hearing.
And it was very interesting to hear a lot of the things that came out of Senate Bill 202 and House Bill 316 as they unfolded, and how we took the processes and implementing, the new processes. And it was just interesting to hear the hearings, the testimonies of, really, it was the Fulton County Board of Elections, former members of the Fulton County Board of Elections, and they did their testimonies and their opinions on the things that unfolded from those bills passing. And I'm just grateful that we have the opportunities. Lisa arranged for us to be there, and we were there. We're in the place. We were one of the only counties, I believe the only county, of elections officials who were there. And we want to always be in the room when people are talking about what we do, because there's a lot that goes into an election. It's a very complex process, and there's so many different sides, because you have the election side, you have the voter registration side, then you have the candidate side, then you have those who are the General Assembly and legislatures, and then you also have those who are university academics, so it's just good to be in the place. You know that, Chairman Raffle, because you participated in the conversations that were had over at the University of Georgia. So it was good to be there, and we got to hear some things, and looking forward to working with some of our leaders on the federal level and helping them to understand better what we do and understand what direction they're trying to take us as far as a country and a state when it comes to elections. So thank you, Lisa.
Okay. Is that
I
the
think that's all.
conclusion of your report?
Yes.
Um,
Oh, may I also add something? I think congratulations is in order for right now. I do have 2 employees who will be graduating with the CIRA conference. This is a national certification of elections and voter registration officials. And that's Pamela Long, she's an election assistant, and Lisa McGlaughlin. They have gone through the process of taking a number of 13 courses, attending several conferences, and attending workshops that were provided by the University of Albany University. Auburn University, I'm sorry, Auburn University. And I'm glad to say that they will be graduating next month. And we were just informed today, it is public information now, that a professional practice paper was presented by staff, Lisa McGlaughlin, Renee Rousseau, and James Howard. All participated in this professional paper. I shared it ahead of time in secrecy, but we were just informed by email that our very own Lisa McGlaughlin will be receiving an award for that practice paper. And this practice paper will be shared throughout the country of how we in Athens-Clarke County receive our poll workers on election night after they have worked a tremendous amount of hours on election day, and then they come in with all their paperwork and their supplies, and it's a smooth process because our area managers work to make that happen, and then Lisa submitted our profession. I want to make that note.
Wonderful. Thank you for the announcement. Thank you for all the work you're doing in the conversation of elections with all of our leaders from top to bottom. Very important that everyone understands how this works. Every single person, I'll repeat that again. Do any members have questions for the director or staff?
Had a small question going back to the beginning of the report. Because you mentioned, you had asked if it were okay with us, no longer including in this, which was the number and why? It was, I believe you didn't want to have the new voters added because it didn't work out the numbers.
Well, I didn't see any significance in it unless it's just something you would like to know, but it doesn't add up with the format of this form. So if you looked at the total number of active voters, eligible voters, that adds up, right? The active and inactive, and you come up with 83,343, but where does this 53 come in? It says new voters added in, but it doesn't reflect those numbers, if that makes sense. There's a difference in it. So only if there's something that you would like to have for statistical reasons.
I got you.
But
Okay.
I think it ought to make sense.
Sure.
But-
So you're saying, I see. So if I were a board member looking at these numbers and adding them up, I might say, wait, they don't add up.
Right.
Your point is they're not supposed to. It's just simply highlighting how many of these voters were new voters added.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
thank you. I understand. Yeah, I also,
Had no.
it's,
Think it's
I
nice to know.
like to know, but I also understand.
And how about like because we had transferred in, transferred out, we had,
I mean, it's interesting to know, but
However format you want to present it, but I think it's good for us to get the rest of that information.
right. And I think what I'll probably do is maybe put some kind of disclaimer at the bottom to say that these numbers may not add up, because I see this as a open records document. And so it needs to make sense, not just to us, but to people who are actually viewing it.
Right.
So
could you put them in a separate?
Yeah,
Could you
drop
table.
them down,
I sure
drop them down and make a notation on the head of it or something.
yes, we'll do that.
Okay.
Yeah. That's good.
Any other members have any questions? Okay. All right, next item on the agenda is old business, of which we have none today. So we'll move on to new business. First item on the agenda under Hank is absent.
Okay.
He's
I just
out
realized
of,
it's go.
yeah, he's traveling somewhere. Sorry. First item under new business is drafting a written agreement for non-governmental entities where voting is conducted. Now, and that was Hank's agenda item. Not 100% sure what that meant. But I can just say that perhaps some of what his concern was will be resolved in the school district meeting. So,
Would that actually be something that we would conduct? Or would that be over our pay grade?
well, I think we would have a discussion and then ask the attorney's office to do something, but I was going to say we could table this until the next meeting when Hank is present. Okay, do it. Someone?
Sorry, I moved to table.
No, that's great. Do we have a second?
Second,
Second, Fambro, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that agenda item is tabled till next meeting. Okay. The next item on the agenda is the call for call a special municipal election to fill Winterville City Council vacancy to be held November 7th. And I believe there are two resolutions that we've been presented with because there are two vacancies. And staff or attorney's office, correct me if I'm wrong. I have them in front of me. Does anyone have any questions, wish to read them before we vote on them?
Did they simply say what we would recommended, the date that they'll be held?
Yeah,
citing the code sections, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Does it go so far as to specify qualifying and all that, or is that all baked into the code?
The one I reviewed, the one for the clerk of Superior Court / state court, and it does all that.
This one does too.
Okay.
The Winterville one says the ballot shall contain the names of those who qualifies during the period of Monday, August 21st at 9 a.m. through Wednesday, August 23rd at 5 p.m. to fill the office of city council. And yeah, we do have 3. So we're not doing the clerk report yet. We're doing the Winterville
Just the
ones.
2.
But there's 2 documents, but they're not.
So one is the call for the election, and that's the one that you would sign, and then the other one is what will be published,
I see.
that speaks on the qualifying.
So we only need to vote on this one.
Right.
We can change it out.
He's like, yeah. All right, substitution.
Thank you.
All right. So I just want to make sure we word the motion correctly. So this one has the name, but there's also another vacancy, correct? There's 2 vacancies, right?
But you talk about Winterville, right?
Winterville, yeah, we're not talking about.
So Winterville, the voters will be electing the mayor and 2 seats that are up for election,
In a regular election.
regular election.
Got it.
In addition, they will be electing a vacant seat. So they will be having 4 of their 5 seats gonna be.
And this is for the vacancy,
That's
not for the
for-
regular election.
We did the regular one.
Yes.
already. We did
Yes.
that one in January.
Yes.
Got it.
Very creative.
That's everybody on the same page now. All right, the chair will entertain a motion to adopt this resolution to fill the unexpired term of Timothy Pierce Tomlin resigned with the city of Winterville.
Also move.
Just tell that
I'm
first.
sorry. Don't be so.
Motion, Ms. Tildy, you want a second?
I'll say.
Okay, second, Ms. Pembroke.
And then,
All,
just since this is
Yeah.
a fairly significant motion, I want to be sure, is it correct to say the motion by Ms. Till to adopt the resolution calling a special municipal election to fill the Winterville City Council vacancy to be held November 7, 2023? Does that sound adequate?
good to me.
Okay, I want to be sure. Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Chair.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, resolution passes. Let's just sign it so we don't forget. All right. That's way more complicated than we consider, so apologies. All right. Yep. The next item on the agenda is the call of a special countywide election to fill clerk of court vacancy for an election to be held November 7th. In front of me, I have a resolution calling for that special election to be held on November 7th. Does any member have any questions or concerns? Otherwise, the chair will entertain a motion to adopt.
I move that we adopt.
Okay, motion, Ms. Fambro, second Ms. Till. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that is adopted. Willa's name is like just on the
Yeah.
3rd page. Can we fix it or?
Send it to be printed, and it's okay because, that part don't go in the newspaper.
Oh,
Did you spell that right?
right?
Yeah.
It is, yeah. Yes. Okay.
Do you want to read that whole thing? No, yeah, out loud.
Think of, is that required? So I think our secretary would do a wonderful job at reading that. We don't need to.
Okay.
It'll be posted on an adequate public space, but it will be fine. Okay. Next item on the agenda is the proposal from staff. What?
Just pick it up.
Okay, that's fine. I can take it. I'll start again. The next item on the agenda is the proposal from staff to change the original name of the Department of Athens-Clarke County, to change the official name of the department to Athens-Clarke County Department of Elections and Voter Registration. It was discussed during the director's report, but does anyone have any questions, concerns?
I have a comment. I've been on the board for 4 years, and that name has always confused me. I am so glad to see it change. So if I'm getting confused, I know a lot of other people out in the public are totally confused.
Yeah. So now, sometimes we get calls for y'all. I just say, I speak with, one of y'all, they're not in here. What do you mean? We have to explain you're part of the board and we're the working office. So it will help out in the community for sure.
I was just curious, what is the name now?
Board of Elections.
Board of Elections.
So we are the Board of Elections, but they are the Board of Elections and Voter Registration.
Right.
Department.
I don't think there's a problem with that. I have not looked at the chart, the language you created this for, to confirm that there's not a problem with that. I might just say subject to review by the attorney.
Office.
Just to make sure I don't see anything. I don't think there will be anything. I haven't had a chance to read, I would want to read the local act just to make sure it doesn't say anything related to any of this. But I don't see a problem with that. I understand the distinction. I think it's probably perfectly fine. I just hate to say that I haven't read that. Okay?
Sounds good.
Okay. My question is, do we even have the authority to change a
Well-
business side name?
I saw where you're going to just do this as a recommendation to the commission, right, from y'all. It's just a recommendation. The commission's going to, so I think that's appropriate because the commission sets department names. I think that
So
process is probably okay.
shall we vote on it?
I think it's
And
fine.
then can we put it in resolution form or does that?
No, technically, didn't approve a resolution. Technically, you don't have to. A motion is a resolution. It's just a verbal resolution. Right? So I think that is fine.
Okay. All right. Any other questions, comments? All right. Chair will entertain a motion to change the name of the department to Athens-Clarke County Department Elections and Voter Registration. Second?
I'll second.
Motion was Till, second, Mr. Shirley. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The name is recommended to be changed. How about that?
Yeah.
Did we need to have that?
Well,
Yes.
pending.
At one point,
We were advised by the attorney's office at one point that you don't pass pending motions. It's either a motion.
I was going to say, subject to review and approval by the county attorney.
Yeah.
I'm okay with waiting till the next meeting too.
Okay.
I have not had a chance to look at that language. So I'm going to wait till the next meeting. That's fine.
Because if we say we
Well, we just-
approved it, it's approved.
Well, I
Well, we
mean,
just
I mean,
voted
not
on one.
approved, but it doesn't.
but here's the thing, you're just really recommending, if I said it wasn't okay, and that we just come back to you and tell you why, and it wouldn't go to the commission for consideration. Does that make sense?
But even though it's a recommendation, we could be wrong and it could still go to the commission, right?
I wouldn't let it if it was wrong. I'm gonna look at it.
I know, right?
I just didn't.
We need to do a motion to reconsider and pull it back, because I do distinctly remember from another person from your office telling
Yeah.
us
Well,
motions are yes and no. So,
I'm fine with it. Why don't you just take it back and go on next meeting?
okay.
I'll even prepare a resolution.
Who made that motion?
That motion was made by Ms. Till.
Okay, you want to offer a motion to reconsider? Take it back?
Consider until it goes through the legal system.
I don't really know what I'm talking about when it comes to rules of order, but do we have a second on Bill?
Second the motion to reconsider. And I need to know, I would be curious to know how a motion to reconsider works.
Yeah, I don't really know, but I know that we can do that one.
Just do a motion to withdraw that motion.
That
Okay.
would be best.
Sure,
Would you like to do that?
sure.
Okay, there's a motion to withdraw the previous motion by Ms. Till. Do we have a second?
I second.
And Ms. Fambro, all those in favor? Aye. Okay, there we go. The name is unrecommended to be changed now.
Do we need to make a motion to table it to the next meeting? Put it on the agenda.
Oh, we can just put it on the agenda because we acted on it, I guess. Yeah. Okay. The next item on the agenda is new polling locations and precincts to take effect for the March 2024 presidential preference primary. And Chair will open the floor to a board member on that topic.
I think we have thoroughly covered it in our meetings. Legal forces, the public. I don't think we've got anything negative. I think everything that's been said has been positive. And I think we've just beat this dead horse long enough and need to say amen.
Right.
Got all that?
Everywhere.
Court reporter over here. Need one of those little keyboards with like 4 buttons. Magic. Either of you have a question, comment?
That we ever resolve the, Miriam Moore.
That was one of my questions as
Yeah.
well. And then my other is something of this importance. I know we don't need to have a formal resolution, but I'd like to have a document or something.
I just learned that we actually did publish the notices. I mean, like literally when I sit down here, up in my email. So I had not prepared a resolution because I was not sure we had published the required notice, but we did, public notice. So I prepared a resolution while I was sitting here, which I'm going to read to you.
Okay.
It's pretty basic because I didn't have a lot of time to add a lot of detail, but the whereas is, the only requirement was that you publish the public notice 2 consecutive weeks prior to voting. Y'all actually published it 3, and you held 2 public hearings, at least 2. Yeah, right here. So y'all heard it. I'm going to.
Are you able?
I want to read it, but I've got a question first. This is the resolution, but the exhibit A is the important part. I'm going to go through the precinct changes.
Sure.
I copied those from the public notice because that's all I had sitting here. I'm going to read it to you. Ready? A resolution of the Board of Elections and Registration of Athens-Clarke County, Georgia to approve and authorize the polling place changes as reflected in Exhibit A attached here to and incorporated herein by reference, take effect for the 2024. I noticed a mistake. I heard it really fast. Take effect for the 2024 presidential preference primary, and for other purposes. Whereas pursuant to OCGA section 21-2-265A, notice of proposed polling change places were published on June 14, 2023, June 18, 2023, and June 25, 2023. Now therefore, the Board of Elections and Registration is hereby approved and authorized the polling place changes to take effect for the 2024 presidential preference primaries reflected in Exhibit A attached hereto and incorporated by reference. So resolved by the Board of Elections and Registration on the blank day of blank 2023. Now I want to read these. This is the important part. This is the Exhibit A. Polling place change locations shall include the following to be effective for March 2023 presidential primaries. Precinct 1A, moving from the Winterville Train Depot, 125 North Church Street to the Winterville Community Center, 371 North Church Street. Is that correct? Precinct 4A, moving from the ACC Gov Multimodal Transportation Center, 775 East Broad Street to the Athens Ben Epps Airport Community Room, 1010 Ben Epps Drive. Precinct, is it SD?
5D.
5D, I'm sorry, I couldn't help it, 5D. Moving from the ACC Government Fleet Management Office, 225 Newton Bridge Road to the Girl Scouts of Historic Georgia Athens Office, 185 Newton Bridge Road. Precinct 6B, moving from the Georgia Square Mall, 3700 Atlanta Highway to the ACC Extension Office, 27 South Cleveland Road.
275.
275, that thing, it transposes as a S. I'm sorry, that's what the problem was. I'll fix that. Y'all are about to make this change in this Exhibit A because I copied it from that article and I couldn't get it. It copied as a picture instead of text. So that's 275, not 270S. being removed. Precinct 6D, moving from the fire station number 4, 900 Overthorpe Avenue to Overthorpe Avenue Elementary School to merge precinct with existing precinct 5A located Overthorpe Avenue School. Some of that stuff didn't transfer.
1150 Overthorpe Avenue.
All right. Precinct 7C, moving from fire station number 3, 1198 South Millersville Avenue to Millersville Avenue Baptist Church, 1690 South Village Avenue.
Yes.
And new precinct, this was in there to be named numbered Miriam Moore Community Center, 410 McKinley Drive, or Herb Park, 400 McKinley Drive. So I don't know how y'all want to do that. Y'all probably need to decide.
Say that again.
It said, the last one said new precinct to be named / numbered Miriam Moore Community Center, 410 McKinley Drive, or Herb Park, 400 McKinley Drive. So did y'all?
It was in
We
there.
need to have a short little discussion on that part. Anyway, so. Her.
Third part needs to come off and be, if you leave it like that, replaced with the option of the East Athens dance.
Right.
Screenshot.
That.
Needed word.
So are we just
saying?
doing or and then sorting that part out later? What are we?
I don't know, it'd be great if you made a decision today.
I mean, I'm ready to make a decision, but I think we need to talk about that part
I
too.
mean, if you don't, I mean, we're in a timeline's not bad.
What's that?
If we don't, if they don't make the decision today, the timeline wouldn't be, it would be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel better.
If you don't make the decision today, I think since you ran the notice saying you're gonna vote on it, I'd run the notice again, just out of abundance of caution. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
But really, it wouldn't be bad to run the notice too, with how you finally were gonna do it. Does that make sense, you know?
Yes.
So you're not required to, I mean, y'all did give the proposed notice, but does that make sense? Actually, the more I think about it, that makes me a little uncomfortable that it wasn't ran with exactly what, I think you should run it for 2 weeks with exactly what you're gonna do. You follow me? Because that last one left an option.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It does without a question.
I think that, go ahead.
I'm sorry. So the code section that requires public notice,
Mhm.
is that public notice required to be of the change or of the vote to make the change?
Prior to the change, you know, you give proposed notice of what you're thinking about doing. So I mean, technically, this would probably be all right.
Because we have until
If
February.
y'all didn't,
And it's all the same parcel of land, right? It's all,
I don't know. See,
I don't know. if
It
it's-
is, they're all in one section.
As an attorney, I always say if it's possible, do everything you can to take any doubt away so somebody can't file any type of thing. Do that. Y'all aren't rushed. Does that make sense? You know? And it sounds like y'all still haven't made the final decision yet. Y'all need to think about this. We're not ready to vote on a resolution.
But you're done
I'm
reading?
done.
Okay.
I would, yeah, that last point needs clarification. If that makes sense.
Yeah, well, that's,
Should I withdraw that?
no, well, we didn't make a motion for it yet.
I don't know, I'm lost.
We did not. I'm right here with us. We're good. We're good. There were a number of emails exchanged, one of which came from the attorney's office regarding the lease. I don't know who wants to jump in, if Charlotte wants to jump in.
Well, I can speak to that. So the Miriam Moore Community Center.
Yeah, let's start with that.
Yeah, we believe that it is okay. We sent you a memo on this to pay for the janitorial services, but just the way the statute's written, we don't think we can pay anything in addition because the way that lease is written, because it's a governmental building. I think the purpose of that law probably was so that school boards should be able to charge for use of governmental buildings, but it says what it says, you know, and I think it's my recommendation, you don't pay anything more than janitorial services, you know, if they're gonna charge us that. You know, I will point out too, the unified government, for what it's worth, lease, it's clear in that lease, it's not a leasehold estate. It's a usufruct. And the lease says that for that reason,
Repeat that part again. I'm sorry.
that the lease that they have is what's called a usufruct. It's versus a leasehold estate. If I lease something as a leasehold estate, it means you have total control over it. If it were a leasehold estate, it would be almost like you owned it. You're one step short of owning it. That's not what they have. This is a 1-year lease. It is a lease. It's not, lease itself says it's not a leasehold estate. So where all this became an issue and why there's a lot of clarity on this was the issue related to the ability to carry guns, board passed all these laws about we don't have guns. And there was this big issue about a building that was leased to a nonprofit entity in Atlanta. And they looked at it and examined that, how you determine if it's a leasehold or use of drug. There's a lot, but anyway, so I mean, I think as long as, I don't think, of course, I'm giving you advice, the board's free to follow or not follow, but I wouldn't recommend you paying more than janitorial services. I was gonna also point out, we only pay, that entity only pays $1 a month. I mean, $1 a year in rent. But that's neither here nor there. I think the law is what it is, you know?
Okay.
If we can't reach an agreement with them relative to that, then we need to think about, what were y'all thinking about? I don't know what your options were.
So go ahead, Mr. Ambrose, and then
When that over email, we had a conversation about meeting with the chair of the EACB board. And I think that would be the best because I think there's some confusion going on about how we run the elections or what happens on election day. And if we can't get past that, then we may be looking at, we're not using that. But if we can't get past that by a meeting, I think that would probably be the best thing to do.
Just to be clear, because I know what's happening for me, all the abbreviations, I'm getting lost in those. There's the tenant of the property that this whole report came from. On McKinley Drive, there's Merriamore Community Center, there's Herd Park, and there's the East Athens Educational Dance Company. I might be miscentered, and so, but then there's also this entity called the East Athens Development Corporation.
That is within the complex.
So I'm getting EADEC and EADC kind of mixed up. Do we happen to know which of those three properties is the EADC the tenant of? All of them?
Development.
Miriam.
All of them.
Yeah.
All three of those, Herd Park, Merriamore, East Athens, the dance.
Herd Park.
Oh, they're
more.
Her
Miriam?
is not in the running anymore.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Leisure Services is Herd Park.
I see.
Yeah.
So just with respect to this, the advice that we're getting from the attorney's office regarding the leaseholder, a tenant in one of these properties, that property is just Merriamore?
Yes.
Thank you. I wanted to be sure about that. Not the dance, not if we were to go, okay. I see.
Separate building. But
Right.
within the Miriam Moore Center, there are at least 2 to 3 other offices in that complex. But that is a separate complex. Then you have another complex just around the corner, the health center, which is tiny. And then you have a separate building or complex that is the East Athens Dance Center.
Okay,
Mhm.
thank you. Okay, so then at issue for us is whether we would like to pursue Merriamore Community Center. But it once was, or Herd Park, but we're saying that I've forgotten this. We have since stopped considering Herd Park. Is that right?
Because of ADA.
Got it. Thank you. That's what I wanted to remember.
Primarily.
And the dance company was never, we preliminarily discussed it, that we've not pursued that.
We've gone out and talked to them and gotten permission to use their auditorium. They're just waiting for word so that we can move forward with doing other things with them.
What is staff's opinion on the auditorium?
I think it's fine, but we haven't done an electrical evaluation.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Did you want to say anything first?
If this is a contention, can we not approve everything and then come back to this? Is there some way we can word it to where we get beyond this, we jump this hurdle?
So you're speaking to like the resolution?
Yeah, let's go ahead and vote on everything that's cleared up and then leave this last part to be decided. Because if we keep holding on to this and this just continues on and on and on and on, is there a way that we could do that?
I don't know. Hold on. I'm going to say something and then Mr. Ambrose. What conversations have been had with the director of the development center? Is it just the email exchange that Ethan had? And then Hank had exchanged some emails. And the reason I ask is, has Charlotte or the manager's office just called over there? I mean, could this just be resolved with a simple phone call? I mean, I don't know. My gut feeling is this is blown up into something bigger than it's not.
But there was, I do know, I didn't see it, but Sherry told me there was a letter sent by the entity indicating they had to be paid rent, right? Was there?
No,
No? Maybe I misunderstood her.
unless I missed it. And my it was an email and it's.
An email, okay.
And the way I interpreted the email was not rent. That's not the way I read it. I mean, someone else may read it differently. I think it was something about, can you pull it up?
I can, there's more.
Because it was something about like, how is the government going to help us promote having elections there? Because, no, I think she said something
I
about.
think the whole reason we wrote the memo is because we were, maybe we were totally misled that we understood that they were wanting.
Well, that's why I think this is a whole giant misunderstanding.
That's why you need to meet eye to eye and face to face. And if we go ahead and approve this, that's gonna be more paperwork for the state, because they're gonna have to do double work. They're gonna have to do this, and then they're gonna have to come back and do either Miriam Moore or the dance center. And also, Miriam Moore is a proven entity. We've done, voting over there, early voting over there, so we know what the setup is. We know they got the electrical. You know, so, I don't know.
You've had conversations with Sherry, what's your under?
If I might, so in the email, there are overhead, quote, there are overhead costs involved with utilizing the facility, including staff for opening and closing and janitorial support. So there is inference to compensation. They don't say that, but there's inference to it. So that's what it says, quote unquote.
And
The only thing we can play is janitor.
I think that Ms. Fambro has said, or someone, that they don't understand that they don't have to staff it, that we're going to staff it. I think that's been part of the confusion.
Can I add? They're not talking about the poll working staff. They're talking about their staff that has to be there when we open up and close each day to lock the building and secure it in the way that they want to.
That's right. And Mr. Kadir sent an email asking specifically me, like, can staff be in charge of opening and closing? My response was, I'll talk with the elections director. And I was just talking with Charlotte just then, and that's something we could do.
Do we do it
I mean, don't we do that
in any other polling places?
Winterville?
Do we do that?
We do. We do that in Winterville. So that could be an option if they would give us, if they would allow us to have a key to do that, yeah. We also do that at the extension office too.
Right.
If they want
So it's
to.
not anything that we have not done.
No.
And I think that one of the most, I don't want to battle anybody against another agency, but I think that one Board of Elections is one of the most straightly run organizations in Athens-Clarke County. We don't have any bad marks. We're not gonna take anything.
Right. We got enough on the line to chairs and tables from a building. Go ahead.
I think, I think there's a way to maybe make both what Ms. Fambro and Phil are saying happen. I completely agree that with both of y'all, that this is probably the heart of this, is just a misunderstanding. Both sides, both entities involved have read things the wrong way. A simple sit-down conversation will straighten things out and clear things up. I am wary about proceeding in spite of that because of the impression it might give of not wanting to have that conversation first. So that's what makes me like Ms. Hill's suggestion, if it were possible that we announce that if we were ready, because we're ready, all the stuff is ready, to go ahead and finalize the changes to the other precincts so that it sounds like staff is ready to go, like their wheels are spinning, they're ready to hit the ground and go for the precinct card updates. That can begin for the other 23 precincts while we then could have a meeting with straight out with the clear things up. That's what I'm thinking right now.
My question is, in doing the work that you would have to do for 5 out of the 6, would you do it in like, you're doing all this work? How do I word this?
Would this be additional work for you? to
Right,
do?
because you'd have to go back and do steps 1 through 5 one more time as opposed to doing it as a larger batch. I mean, is that insignificant? Like, do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah.
That's a good point.
And it would it just have to be done. I mean, it wouldn't, it would be easier for site-wise, I'll say that.
I mean,
I'm gonna do something that I'm probably way over the line with. But staff, what do y'all think?
I think the important thing is for it to be done and be correct and be clear for outside. If we have to do something now, like Ms. Teal suggested, and then go back and do the other part, trying to figure out this part about Miriam Moore area, do that. Like Charlotte just said, if it has to be done, it has to be done, but the main thing is it needs to be done the proper way.
We'll just meet with Dr. Dunstan and then we'll come back to you.
Do you want to table this?
I mean, coming up, we need to call a special meeting for another agenda item, so perhaps we could tag team those two items in the next week or so.
Well, I think though, you gotta keep in mind, I really feel like you need to finalize this, then run that notice for 2 weeks, is this is what we're gonna vote on. You follow what I'm saying?
But
Yeah.
that's what we did, but
Yeah.
But
I do understand.
I'll make sure we're on the same page. Is that what you say you're gonna do? So you gotta run the notice. That's gonna take 2 weeks. You gotta get the paper. First, you gotta decide what you're gonna do. Then you gotta run your notice, then you gotta vote on it. Does that make sense?
okay.
And the notice needs to include what changes we're actually doing, like.
We're actually doing, yeah.
So going back to the beginning, then my preference is to have Miriam Moore for early voting and on election day. I'm pretty confident we can resolve whatever issue there is. So I don't see why we couldn't just vote to suggest or whatever language we're using.
There's no reason to take a vote. I don't recommend taking a vote. I recommend,
Could we not?
y'all wait to decide what you're gonna
This
do.
meeting, because of 30 days, if we have 30 days, we're gonna get everything accomplished. And we're gonna present the public with one package.
But if we're tabling it, is that then another 3 weeks before the work can begin? I'm confused on the timeline of tabling.
Our lawyer is suggesting that we do this today, tell the public what we're doing while we're posting this.
No, it's
I'm
not.
not suggesting you, I think y'all need to decide what you're gonna do, so when you run the notice, it's final.
So
Unless you wanna do the 5.
I was gonna say, Judd, can we do the 5 since one's in question? Is that
Yeah, I think
okay?
that's fine. And you're just doing a separate process for the other one. Now, I do hear what Adam's saying. There could be someone could view that as, I don't know, maybe that group thinks, I don't know, you should work with them first, talk with them before taking this vote. Is that what you were kind of saying, Adam?
Was.
I mean, I'm sensitive to that. I think you gotta be careful about that, but that's y'all's call. You are the board. I don't want to get called, oh, the reason to do is Thursday, you know, but I mean.
I think
How soon do we think we could have the
discussion.
Dr. Dunstan meeting?
I'll send Dr. Dunstan an email right now.
Okay.
Well, I think in good faith, we have worked with them. We've tried to deal with them. We've tried to have conversation with them. So I don't see that we are at fault at this because we've done what we thought we should do to bring this to a head. And if there's confusion, it's not because we have not made the effort. Now, we can go ahead, maybe if he's suggesting to finish this today and leave that as to be considered. I hear you shaking your head, Ms. Willa, I hear you. But it's being suggested that we need to go ahead and run these notices while we're working on this. And we can word it in some way that this is what we're doing. We are working continuously on this to make it happen. But
So
we need to get other things done. We can't just keep pushing it
my
out.
question is then, are we just having an informal conversation about this is what we want to do? And that is then going to put in the notice that says, well, we're basically
I
taking
think
the
you have-
or
You have
out.
2 options. You can approve the resolution right now that just pertains to precinct 1A, 4A, 5D, 6B, 6D, and 7C and take off the Miriam Moore. That would be done. Those would be done.
Okay.
Or Member Shirley, Secretary Shirley had advised, maybe he thought that there was some consideration to be given. This is not me, this is him saying it, to wait and do it all at once, talk to Miriam Moore first, right? Didn't you say that?
That's part of what that's the gist. The importance of waiting on them, not going without them.
Not going without them, yeah, because they won't feel like you left them out. Yeah, there won't be no probably hard feelings about it.
Right.
Not saying there would be hard, I don't know. That's just what your people's perceptions, you know?
We have to be sensitive.
Yeah, well, I'm not speaking, that's not me. That's
And
just
I
what your
understand
options.
that.
Those are your options.
This-
So I'm not giving you I'm not saying do either option. I'm saying those are your options.
I agree with the second option,
because I want to be sensitive to where we are, where we're trying to place this precinct. And I don't want anyone to get any incorrect understanding about how we're doing business. And for me, the second option would be best. I don't live in that neighborhood. I've talked to people in that neighborhood. So I think we need to have the meeting with Dr. Dunst.
May I make a suggestion? May we table this to our special meeting that is next Thursday?
Here's the thing though, you're still before, I think, if you're gonna wait, I'd run the notice again for all of them, once you know what you're gonna do. Because y'all ran a notice that basically gave an option for that last one. You follow what I'm saying? So I'm not sure it technically meets the requirements. Does that make sense, you know? With respect to the last one. So probably, given all that, it's probably best just to finalize your whole list and run it again. That's what I think you should do the more I think about it. You have a final list that there's no doubt in the public, nobody can challenge this.
No action today.
Right.
Have the meeting. Come to a conclusion with the meeting. And then if the meeting works out in our favor, then we'll have 6 complete recommendations. And then we'll publish the notice from after that meeting, or when, does the board need to take an action in order to
I think,
prepare this?
I think it's appropriate to direct staff to publish these proposed locations, whatever the final ones are.
So could we potentially do that at our planning retreat next week?
It's a meeting.
Yeah,
If you put an agenda out, have that on there, yeah.
yeah.
I don't care for
Yes.
that.
Director? Ms. Fambro has a question.
Charlotte, where would this put us on our timeline?
That's what I was just
If
looking
we
at.
decide to bring this to the August meeting? Would that push us over our timeline?
Not at all.
I don't see a problem.
So yeah, if we talk next week and then that'll give us the 3 weeks. Perfect. All right.
While we're here, it's not about just the quickly part of this. I have a question about another part of this before we go on. So we're planning to change these 7 polling facilities. But we're also, as a part of this process, we're changing the borders of the precincts. Is that not something we spell out in the motion?
I wasn't aware of any borders of precinct changes.
So what the resolution you read is just specifying the facilities, right?
I think there's some requirements on the law for that. I need to look at that.
And so that's what
I'm
part.
not sure. I didn't look at that.
We're in compliance with how we did it. But I don't, like Adam says, I don't know about the publication of the.
Yeah, I don't know anything about precinct changes. And actually, I talked to Sherry today. I said, Sherry, you sure they're not changing any precincts yet? I don't think they're doing that. She goes, well, I'm not positive, so I don't know.
So
Of course, we didn't come to we weren't a member of your public hearing. We didn't come to your public hearing tonight, so we don't know.
then
We don't know. We haven't been told.
to wrap up my question, make it a hypothetical then. Attorney Drake,
I think we need to make sure we're doing everything right. I don't think we need to do anything.
Sure. So then just to finish up the hypothetical then, were we to, Attorney Drake, were we to want to change the actual boundaries of the precincts? How does that best get conveyed in a motion or a resolution? Would Exhibit A, for
We have to have
example?
an exhibit A showing those boundaries.
So would it be an image, or should we spell out, it will be bounded by this road to this block and this road to this block, or as a visual?
Exhibit B.
We had offered the maps at our other meeting.
We
can
have the
put a-
maps and we have the descriptions.
Yes.
PDF of the maps in there. and then
I
that's
just want to be
exhibit
sure that we come to the table ready to do what we got to do.
So we have 5 business days to sort the resolution out. We have 5 business days to hopefully have a meeting.
Thank you.
We can have another short discussion, all be on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll have our 3 weeks, and then we can vote in August. Everybody happy?
Yeah.
Okay, okay,
One other thing,
okay. Final,
final, I hope. And Adam had suggested that, only 2 of the board members would attend because we don't want a quorum there.
I don't
What's that?
feel the need to attend, if someone else
At
wants.
the meeting with, Miriam Moore.
I recommend it's just myself and director, so to speak.
That's good, that's good enough.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on. The next item on the agenda is the adoption of Scope of work for project manager to oversee translation of voting materials into Spanish. That item was put forward by Secretary Shirley, so the chair recognizes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I am very excited about this. I had emailed you all my thoughts on this right before the meeting, so I'm certain no one had the chance, but it was especially for Mr. Kadir, who's not here, I want him to be as read into this as possible. I want to be sure that you all understand, I know that all we've officially done as a board is agreed to say, yes, we'll request some money in the budget, and we got that far. And so now that we have some money that's available for this, I'm hoping to persuade you all to go along with a proposal that I put together. The mayor and commission have funding available for us, thanks to them. I'm thinking we followed the DeKalb County's example versus Gwinnett's example. Gwinnett County had to go whole hog all the way because they had to, because of their Voting Rights Act threshold they met with Spanish speakers. DeKalb County is voluntarily doing this. I'd like to go their way. That's what the budget amount was indicative of. Our budget will not allow us to include actual ballot translation. My proposal will not be that we attempt to get BMDs and absentee ballots translated. A composite ballot, a sample ballot I would like to go for, but the actual voting on the day of voting will not be done in Spanish. This proposal that I want to be sure. I am afraid there are some people that might get the wrong impression now that we're doing everything like Gwinnett does. I'm not planning for us to get there with my proposal. Our goal, I propose that we hire someone who will handle the Spanish translation of all these materials. And that person will then return and deliver the translated materials to the department. And we would then have them available to issue and post as we do our English materials. So I've learned a whole lot in the past 6 hours about how this process works. And so forgive me if you already know this process, but for the benefit of those who might not know, like I was, if you're ignorant of this process and people who might be watching, to hire someone, we have to follow the county's procurement process. Thanks to Manager Jones and Director Sotheby, I'm much better at this, but any mistakes that I'm about to make are mine alone. I ask him to please step in and correct me if I say something wrong. We first devise a scope of work, which is essentially a job description. That's where we say, this is what we want you to do, somebody. That spells out exactly what we want, when we want it done by. When we finalize that, then we would move to approve that scope of work. If that passes, the scope of work then used to formulate a request for proposal, an RFP. Manager Jones estimates this takes about 30 days from the time that we say go. If we were to say go, 30 days is what begins to happen. Perfect. That visualization right there. If you can maximize that screen, Ms. McLaughlin, there's a little part on the bottom, the most important part that's a little bit out of view right now. Or full screen, maybe F11, something like that. Whatever. So yes. So what's on the board for those that might not can see that far away or are not in the room? 30 days is when the RFP gets formulated. Then the RFP is published. Think of this as being the job listing is posted. And for 30 days, we get responses, applicants, is what I think of in terms of being a non-government kind of person. So after those 30 days are up, there's an estimated 14-day period where the respondents get evaluated. The applicants get looked through, and we look over the applications, and then the board would select a finalist. When that process is done, the county contracting process begins, which takes an estimated 120 days. These are all the numbers that were estimated, so of course, give or take a little bit, but that's the rough estimate on the days for this. Then, after all that is done, then we have a project manager officially ready to start work. I was kind of disappointed by those numbers, but I've moved past that. They are what they are. Just to give you an idea, July 11th is today. 194 days from now, if this were to begin today, would be January 21st. And so I had to sit with that. And again, maybe it's January 15th or maybe December 27th. But the point is, I don't think this puts the presidential preference primary in reach. I don't think that this process could get us there in time to have Spanish language materials available for the PPP. I don't like that, but hey, it is what it is. What I'm hoping for is that if we were to proceed, we could have this ready and be embarked on this journey to get there in time for the May election. That way we get the May federal and state primary and the May local elections. I think that's very, very important to get. So that's the process that's the timeline we'd kind of be on. So to get us there are two things that need to kind of happen. One is we need to have a list of all the things that need to be translated. Every piece of paper, every sign, everything that needs to get translated. I've been working with staff I'm blown away as always by how awesome they are. I'm confident that we can get there by the time we got through this process with a project manager ready to say, give me the list. So I'm confident we've got that. What we need to do is then get the scope of work ready, because this whole thing can't start, the clock can't start until we have a scope of work ready, the job description. So what I have prepared next, if you wouldn't mind, Mr. Juan, is, well, I'll pause there for a second. I have the scope of work next I was going to show y'all with my proposal for what it should say, but I want to pause in case there are questions about this far.
Why don't you just do your whole
Keep going?
presentation?
Okay.
and then
Okay, thank you.
Write your questions.
So, and I apologize if the font is too small. If you wouldn't mind working your magic.
If you go to view, file, edit, view, tools, help,
Yeah,
go to
he's-
view.
Staff is on the case. So I'll walk you through it. So here is, and again, I was encouraged to be as specific as possible, because this is the language that goes into the contract that the person is going to follow. And so if we don't put it in here,
Fit.
they're not going to do it. So this needs to be pretty explicit. So this is what I'm hoping that we can get done, get pretty far with today, so that we can then send it over to Director Sosby, and the 6 of us can collaborate and be able to finalize this by our next meeting, so we can start the clock there. What I propose that we ask them to do is, the scope of services consists of provide translation into Spanish of the English language text on all voting and elections information provided in the elections office on a daily basis. I'm thinking about when you walk in the door and there's the applications and stuff, information, that stuff get translated. Number 2, provide the same on all information provided at advanced voting locations and election day locations, or pertaining to advanced voting locations and election day locations. Provide the same for each English language composite ballot created between January and June, coming up next year. For those 3 things that I just said, wherever possible, make a digital version that includes Spanish, formatted the same as the English counterpart. And for number 5, for those same things, create graphics that include Spanish, formatted identically. I'm spelling that out there because Manager Jones encouraged me to be specific and enumerate each thing. We might get some respondents who can translate the text, but don't want to do the graphic design, or can format the documents, right? Or some that might just give us the text and that's all. So that's all saying so far. For those things, where the Spanish language versions cannot be sourced, I'm saying that because the federal EAC has already prepared a lot of these terms. There's a glossary of terms that's ready to go in Spanish to English. The wheel's already been invented, is what I'm saying. A lot of this stuff we're not going to have to create new. So I'm saying, and I'm proposing that we ask, where you can't find it somewhere else, coordinate a certified English translation of whatever other items we need to translate. Then the next item is to go line by line and make a quality assurance review of those translations, then coordinate a community review. I'm hoping that we can include in this that this project manager finds people in the community that can help check this and see if it sounds right. Because if I go to Google Translate, it's not going to come out sounding right. This person would then get people in the community who can give us a local response to this. And then to conduct a final internal line by line and text quality assurance review to conform all the documents, index the files in a format that the state and county has used so that we can go in and find that form we need that's in Spanish or English. If there's not a format that already exists, for example, the state has numbers for something like we have the, W4, we have W2s, we have those form numbers the IRS uses. The state uses those same kind of numbers and letters for some of these elections documents. If that system isn't there, I'm asking that we have the project manager make a format that works, create that system for us, submit the final documents to us, support a recap report as we need it, do quality control, do project management, and last, in addition to all the stuff I just said, be available to us for a maximum of 3 hours each month to meet with us. Sometime, basically what I'm saying here is come to one of our meetings and be able to listen to our questions. This is what number 18 is up there trying to say. Be available to us for no more than 3 hours per month maximum to sit with us and hear our questions. That's what I'm proposing as the scope. It goes on to say, basically there are activities to be outlined by us. There's more than 10 items that require translation. And as far as deliverables, I think this bleeds over to the second page. Basically, Spanish language materials for advanced voting locations, election day locations, county-generated composite ballot, and informational and directional signage. That's the nuts and bolts. About half of that is still pretty much what DeKalb County used for their scope of work. The other half is what I've gone in and put based on the recommendations of Director Sosby and Manager Jones. What do y'all think about that? I'd like us to be able to get the gist of that ready, not every letter, every punctuation mark, but the gist of that to then send over to Director Sosby. I hope that y'all are supportive of this.
I am supportive. I think it's great work. Did have one question, which might be a little too much in the weeds. Could this person potentially subcontract out the graphic design per se, if they were, had mastery of this Spanish language and the English language and all its details, but their graphic design skills are probably like mine, which are minimal to none.
Right?
Would they be able to hire out and then they would be funding that person themselves?
I understand. I'll give a little bit and then I'll happily turn it over to Manager Jones because he knows the nuts and bolts. I learned today that one of the reasons to have this enumerated this way is because respondents, like applicants, I'm thinking of the private market, private sector, respondents will go in and pretty much they'll report how much they would need, like their budget, their bidding essentially, like on how much I can do that for you for $4,800, $5,000. And so that way, if they're not going to do the graphic part, they can leave it off. But they might be thinking, I know a guy or a gal who can do that for me. I'll put $1,000 and I'm going to subcontract. I believe they're allowed to do that, but
In the proposal, they would go ahead and put that after the fact, not so much because that would be a change order.
Oh, right.
Right. But in the proposal, they could.
And then my other question is, what exactly is the county, I think it was like step 5 from the original document. You don't need to pull it up. But the county procurement process or something, said something to that effect.
sorry, in this.
No, in the previous document.
Oh,
Yeah, number 5,
oh, I see.
county contracting process. Could you just explain what that is?
Sure. It gets routed from procurement to safety and risk, to the attorney's office, to the manager's office. So everybody's reviewing it from their own standpoint.
Got it.
Is procurement done correctly? Insurance right? Is the legal language correct?
Understood.
Thank you, Adam.
Other questions, other things you want changed? I'm not at all saying this is perfect. I'm just trying to get, and again, just to reiterate, I'm not going to ask us to make a motion to approve this. What I think is better is for us to get the gist of it out there, the broad contours, and hand it over to Director Sosby, and she can maybe do what she needs to do with it also, and we can all 6 communicate about it.
Ideally, when would we approve that, or would we need to approve that?
If y'all were amenable to it, I would ask that it be approved no later than the next regular meeting. If we happen to have a special meeting between then, and if we're all in agreement about it, the sooner the better. But August, again, y'all know the clock now that I mentioned. If we were to approve it, second week of August, then that puts us into potentially February of the person getting able to start day 1 working, which from discussing with Dr. Sosby and Manager Jones, that still we think is doable for a May election timeframe. So August is what I'm looking for, if not sooner.
One thing we didn't talk about that I just thought about, this is all predicated on us getting a response.
Right?
If we don't get any responses, we have to go back out. Theoretically, we should get a number of responses, but recently, on a couple of RFPs we put out, we haven't received any responses.
And so I did learn even more today, but as far as what's germane to right now, what's before us, I think that's more than, I've given you more than enough of an earful. So.
Attorney Drake, do you need to go to the mayor and commission meeting? Do we need to do the next agenda item? Come back to this?
We're not meeting tonight.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind then.
It's not here for duration.
All right.
Don't sound too excited about that.
Yep.
Okay, sorry.
No. So there's, I guess,
Usually has to
just to be clear, I have no motion that I'm hoping for tonight. Just I wanted to be sure and leave the floor open for any other feedback y'all have about this.
Yeah, I want to sit down, look at it, read it, think about it. So that's a great start.
Okay.
Come back to the next meeting.
Hey, I'm missing of it. They're all there, the rest of it.
Yeah, that was great.
Thank y'all for your patience.
All right. Next item on the agenda, the final item. We have,
Get a note.
I did. Isn't that what it is?
All right.
Yeah. Charlotte's passing notes during. So the final item on the agenda is a voter challenge that's been presented to the board. So what we need to do the first action is to select a date to have the meeting in which the hearing will occur. We won't be making a decision right now on the voter challenge. Select a date, is that correct?
Oh, the policy, right? Didn't y'all approve a policy on all
Yeah.
this?
I'm not sure if it was included in your policy, how the timeline as far as receiving the challenge, but it is outlined in 21, 229, 229.
Yeah.
So, yeah, 10 days within the point of receiving the challenge, which was on the 7th. So the hearing should be set.
Right.
Yes. Check and select the date, yeah.
Select a date from, the hearing doesn't have to be in 10 days, but you have to select a date within 10 days.
Yes.
Is that kind of the same way open records requests go? We have to respond within a couple of days, but not necessarily get it done,
You have to respond within 3 days.
but not respond with the record, correct?
Correct.
Just with, okay, I got you. Here's how to the cost, that kind of thing. So,
So. Calendar,
Well, I'd say, make sure you read it. Because there's a lot of time periods. I don't have my computers when it did, so I can't pull up 21, 229. So I'm not gonna sit here and don't take my silence as agreement, you know, I don't know that reading it.
It says upon such challenge being filed,
oh, look at this.
the registrars, the board of registrars shall set a hearing. Oh, you got it over there?
Sorry.
On such date challenge within 10 days after serving the notice to the challenge. The notice of the date, time, and place of the hearing shall be served to the person whose qualifications are being challenged along with a copy of such challenge and upon the elector making challenge within 10 business days following the filing of that challenge. There's a 3-day notice required.
Is that 3 business days or just 3 days?
Notice of the date, time, and place of the hearing shall be served upon the person whose qualifications are being challenged along with a copy of such challenge. And upon the elector making the challenge within 10 business days following the filing of the challenge.
Which was July 7th. Was filed.
We have to notify both parties.
Person being challenged shall receive at least 3 days' notice of the date, time, place of the hearing.
3 days. So we have to develop.
Me
So we
too.
got-
You all right?
It's just a lot. I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's complicated. You
Yeah.
gotta-
Yeah,
When did y'all get it?
on the
Yeah.
7th. Why?
So we,
Yeah, 10 days.
Is it business days, 6 days left?
I think it's day.
10 business days.
You don't count weekends. That's good. So you-
Yeah,
We must, so we must set a date
within
within.
10 business days, and then you have to
Notify.
notify the person within 3 days, so that's
So-
13.
You can set the date. I think you should set.
The date could be set in August if we wanted to.
No, I think it has to be.
I'm
10
just-
days.
No,
So the 10th would be July. The 21st, right. It would be the
you have to
21st.
take an action
10
within
days
10
following
days.
the filing.
Hold
So
the
you have to
hearing.
set the date within 10 days, so yeah,
So yeah, we're within the 10-day window, right?
yes.
So the date could be December in theory. But we've acted within, and then 3 days before that date.
You have to set the hearing within 10 business days after serving notice of the challenge.
The hearing.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
you're saying a sentence that we're parsing differently. Within 10 business days, we have to set the hearing. Not we have to hold the hearing.
Right.
Right. So I'm just making sure we save the date within 10 days.
Yes.
and then that's why I'm talking about December like a crazy person. It's that we have to just select the date, which very well could be August.
The way I read that sentence is, once the notice of that hearing the hearing has to be held within 10 days after providing notice of the challenge. That's the way I thought that reads. It's a strange sentence. Read that first
It is.
sentence there. And the first says, upon such challenge being filed, the board of with the board of registrars, the registrar shall set a hearing on such challenge within 10 business days after serving notice of the challenge. Notice of the date, time, place of the hearing shall be served upon the person. So you serve that hearing, once you serve it, the hearing has to be held within 10 days of serving notice. Does that make sense the way I read that? You don't read
And
it
how
that way?
many days is it
just for the serving the
So you think you can do it anytime?
You went to school for it. I didn't. Hang on.
Give a
What I'm hearing is, wait, what I'm hearing is when they say after serving notice, I think what they mean is after we are served notice of the challenge by the
So,
challenger.
yeah, I have
Is that not what's implied there?
this is what,
We received the challenge. We have 10 business days from that time.
so today is within that window, we're gonna make a decision today. Say the decision is August first.
I don't read it that way.
Okay, got it.
I read it that y'all are serving notice of the challenge and the hearing's gotta be within 10 days after serving that.
Understood,
Yes.
understood.
10 days from
It's
today.
like that's,
10 days.
it's
from
not
the date.
chronicalized in some kind of way.
That's what I'm saying.
That paragraph, it's not.
So let's say she sends out the notice tomorrow. Y'all need to set the hearing so it can be within 10 days, business days of doing that. Does that make sense, you know?
To me, it does.
I thought we,
But you gotta give them 3 days notice too. That's why I remember we looked at this and did that policy. This is a really crazy
It really is.
procedure.
yeah, so
I put it as far out as possible if I were y'all.
that's why
I say you send the notice out tomorrow.
That's the 25th. 10 business days tomorrow.
Remember
They
what we
have,
did.
they do have a resolution that people work, but it doesn't have to be
8, 9, 10.
about what
Aren't we planning to have a meeting-ish in that window
Well,
anyway?
This will come up again.
I mean, I'm
I'd set the hearing on the
not putting it in
25th or
front of me,
26th.
but I still stand by my point of we're within the 10 business days, so today is one of those days, we make the decision, say, August 1st. That's when all the board members are gonna attend the meeting.
Yeah.
Then 3 days before, August 1st, the 29th, is there 30 days in July? Whatever.
31,
So on the 29th, we would send,
it's on Sunday.
okay, 20s, whatever. You get the point.
I do.
On the 26th, we would send notice informing them there's a hearing on August 1st, both parties. And then that's, right?
I like everything you just said, but why not bump it to the 25th? And just do all the stuff you just said, 3 days before that, but July 25th. That way we're safely within all interpretations of what statute says. Right, I hear
Y'all
you.
listen to this though. Notice the date, time, place, the hearing shall be served upon the person whose qualifications are being challenged along with the copy of such challenge and upon the lecturer making the challenge within 10 business days following the filing of the challenge. Within 10 days following the filing of the challenge. So the challenge was filed on what day?
It's 10 business days within.
21st.
That's what's so crazy about the statute. They want it
Yes.
done really quickly.
That's what I said, it's written backwards.
So
The legislature was worried that y'all Board of Elections wouldn't hear these challenges, so they were trying to,
speed
you
it
know,
up.
move people from the roll, you know?
Speed
Yep.
it up. Speed it up more or less.
But they said it was a process that's really hard to follow. You follow what I'm saying, in a timely manner. So I remember when y'all wrote this procedure. Y'all remember all this?
Well, I very much do.
So it's a bad law, really. It's really poor. But the purpose was they were like, oh, these boards of elections aren't going to hear these challenges.
So basically, we have what, no, eight
8 days.
8 working days.
Yeah,
Get all of this done, actually.
to set the date for the challenge hearing. Has to be set before the 21st.
We definitely have that. That's clear, right? We have it. We only have that long to set
It
it.
has to be done for
Now,
the first.
sounds like we're being recommended to go ahead and hold the thing within not too much longer after that. But so I'm curious, Mr. Chair, like how, given the necessary information for us to have a hearing about this to make a ruling, I wonder how much time staff thinks they would need to prepare the relevant facts.
Well, it's not on staff to prepare the facts, it's on the
You're right.
challenger.
That's right. That's right.
This was
That's right.
It's not complicated.
Yeah.
Right. That's a good point though. That's the whole point is we'll hear you, the voter, or you, the person
Just bring it
challenging,
challenge.
we'll hear you
Yeah.
on this date. I see. That's why it's easy to make it such a quick turnaround. We don't need time to go dig through stuff. Okay.
No.
I forgot about that. Okay, then
So the 17th, maybe?
Well, you gotta give them 3 days notice, so you gotta get it out to them. They're supposed to receive 3 days notice of the hearing. So I would try, got it out tomorrow.
Both parties too.
Yeah. If we got it out on the 12th, that will put us on the 17th.
With March 12th, yeah.
How do you notify them if you notify?
I'd give a few extra days to make sure they get the
They
notice.
get-
It's certified.
Good point.
I would think about the 20th or 21st, Thursday 20th. You know what I'm saying?
Good point.
Yeah.
Yep. I think that you're all saying the same kind of thing.
The 21st, take it as far as we
That's
can.
Friday.
Might need to email them, mail them, you know, all the things.
So the person has to be, no, so a date has to be set by the 21st, right? No later than the 21st.
Seven.
Questioning whether they're here.
Right.
Days.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, Director Osby, it seems,
Seems everybody has.
What address is it gonna go to the other?
Yes, it's going to that address. Yeah.
First class by mail address and mailing.
It goes to the address.
To,
So it's for his.
Yes.
my concern is both parties receiving adequate notice.
Right. we've encountered this before.
My concern is both parties receiving adequate notice. I don't feel comfortable with just sending one letter to this address if this person claims the other one doesn't live there. Both of them need an
But it
opportunity.
says where to send the letter. You send it, it says at the last sentence that you send it. Such notice shall be served either by first class mail address, the mailing address shown on the person's voter registration records, or in the manner provided in subsection C of code section 21-2-228, which is
Next page before.
you get the sheriff or deputy sheriff to serve it.
Yeah,
So all you gotta do is send that address. Now, in this case, this individual's registered in two places, in Oconee and in Athens-Clarke. Which I don't think you can legally do.
No, you can't, and I don't,
So I would send it to both.
do we have the Oconee County address?
Those are public records, aren't they?
We
Registered
got
voter
a
registration records?
former address of Poplar Street here. Yeah, we got one on Macon Highway, so.
But
Where you're registered to vote is a public record.
we don't show the.
Sure seems to be. I get stuff all the time.
No, he's still-
For campaigning on behalf of people. It's
He
public
still
record.
show registered at the same address as the
Okay,
requested.
so there's a difference in where they were registered to vote at.
Right.
But this person is registered in Clarke County. So we're supposed to send it to Clarke County because he's not registered anywhere else. He's registered in Clarke County. Now, if the person who filed the challenge has their address, then they should have provided it and we would send the letter there. So to ensure that they get the letter.
Yeah.
But by law, we can only send it to the registration address.
But is that a cited law? Because my opinion on this is,
I just read it to you.
I mean,
Get the statute.
I have to go to that county. I mean, I'm advocating for the voter.
Right, understand.
Miss,
We don't have the address.
Confirm his Athens address where he's registered.
We don't have any other address.
That's what the statute says you have to do.
That's where he
But,
comes.
and that's his current registration, and you're able to see in like Jarvis.
Well, Jarvis is gonna give us the whole registration history.
Huh.
But we know that he's only registered in Clarke County because you can't be registered in more than one county anyway.
Can we provide the sheriff's office with all of the registration history if they're unsuccessful at the Clarke County address?
I don't know how that would happen if it's in a different county, number one. And that still doesn't mean it's gonna be delivered successfully. It's just gonna show that there was an attempt, like it is with us attempting to mail it to the current residents.
What he has provided.
Yes.
Onus is on him. He should write it.
Yes.
Ms. Family.
She states in the letter that she does not know where exactly he is and he may be out of county. But I don't see a problem. If that's where it says, that's actually where she lives. But if that's what it says, the rule says we have to mail it there. It does not give us any exceptions. So let's just do that.
Follow the statute.
Yes.
I mean, okay.
Mr. Carey.
Well, my opinion is we follow the statute, but we talk about in this room doing a little more. We usually do a little extra in this office. I mean, just like with the notice, we published it 3 weeks instead of 2. So if you're following the statute, yeah, we're sending a letter to this address of the challenge, but is there any reason we can't send another letter to the other address in there? I mean, this person needs to be given adequate opportunity to defend themselves as a voter. I mean,
If that's the pleasure of the board directs staff to do that, they'll do that as well.
So which address would you like us to send it to?
Well, you gotta send
well, we
that
have
one.
to, yeah,
Right, but what is the optional address that you would?
whatever the secondary address we're talking about,
Well, the secondary address is the old address. So would you send it to the old address, but just in another county, which we wouldn't be given a,
No, saying we're gonna do what we're supposed to. He's saying in addition to that, do also the other.
that's what I'm saying. Would that be the other option, is to send it to the old address?
I mean, whatever address we have on record. I mean, but what if they were in another state and they still have opportunity to come back and,
If we had a legitimate address in another state.
but yeah, but a voter, but
I hear, I think I hear what you're trying to say, what you're saying loud and clear. And I think we're all pretty much on the same page. What if, since we can only send it to addresses we have on file, and I don't think it's worth sending to an address from 10 years ago. Maybe just the next most recent address on file. If it seems like we have access to that, what if we must by statute send it to the one on file right now? And then what if we go one back? And I don't know what more we can do besides that unless one of us knows the challenge, right?
and are we saying sending a certified letter or the sheriff is hand delivering, serving this person?
I would sooner do the same treatment for both addresses. Send
Right.
the same thing, this address, go, is what I would think. And then I would think, I hear what you're saying, and I also, like all of us, want to fight for the voter to give them the chance to defend themselves.
And I just think of someone that is registered to vote here, but they may be on temporary assignment in Pennsylvania and they're living and working, but temporarily residing and working in another state.
Okay,
But it's at a hotel that we don't know the address of.
All right. I have a response to that then. What if I'm suggesting, not saying we go ahead and do this, what if whatever Jarvis has for us, if the voter has given a phone number and an email address, we do all the things we can to call them, and if they're out of state or indisposed, they can say, I'm very sorry, I can't make it because of blank. Or they can email us and say, here's my defense. We've given them the chance. Wouldn't that would satisfy what you're trying to say? We'd give them as many chances as we can and still have to do what we have to do by what the statute says.
I mean, and that's what we do consistently on most things.
Right.
When someone, provisional ballots, we go kind of above and beyond,
Would that,
at least in Clarke County, I know.
Do you think he may have filed a change of address with the US Postal Service?
does that not automatically work its way into our system, or does
I
that?
don't know whether they hooked up with the Postal Service. Okay, I didn't think so.
Georgia's still in the Eric.
Department of Drive.
We are still in Eric, but we do have, I just verified, we do have a telephone number and email address, so we'll be fine. And that will be our second, if that's okay with y'all. Is that,
I would prefer that be a third.
oh,
The first address, this is just my personal preference. First address as required by law.
More than the statute requires, there needs to be a motion from staff from the board directing staff to do that.
So phone, email, and the two most recent addresses is my wish, but someone else has a different wish or. Feel free to make that motion or a different one that you feel appropriate.
oh, may I? Thank you, Lisa. On your resolution, your policy, you do have that the written challenge will be posted on the BOE website within 3 business days of receipt of the challenge by the BOE. I'm not sure if you did that or if it was done in the past, that this specific voter was challenged, but that we would have a challenge hearing would be listed on our website. That we will have.
It's like, because it would be
Like
instead
a
of
notice of a
a
hearing.
regular meeting, emergency meeting, special, it would be a hearing.
Yes,
Yeah, I mean, isn't that standard
yes,
practice for what we would do?
yeah. So we'll have that on there, but.
So
not specific.
Would this set a precedent that from now on, we would have to send out 3 notices to everybody that has a challenge? Because, you know, if they did it for you, they should do it for me.
Yes,
So is this
need to be a
precedent,
I
if
would-
we're going beyond what we're told to do, does this create a problem for the board, the elections office?
I think as long as we do what the legally is required, do it more, doesn't create a problem. I mean, y'all the board, I mean, you can direct what you want. That's your pleasure, you know. Yeah, I'm not doing more than required, but I'm not gonna sit here and say you can't.
But would it set a precedent that someone can say,
Well, we would probably need to revise our policy and have that discussion. I mean,
I mean, you have a policy that you're now not following, but that's another issue. But y'all spent all this time on, and
right? I'm not trying to withhold voting from anyone,
No,
but
As
if we
much as
have
possible.
policies, if we have laws, I said we follow policy, and when we cannot be faulted that we
Well,
did not do what we were asked to do. Keep going beyond and keep asking staff to do this and do that. I'm just wondering, does it have an end? I'm not trying to be hard-hearted about this,
Yeah.
but just,
well, I hear what you're saying and I recognize what you're saying is that
Okay.
we're going beyond the
I'm
policy
thinking
that the
about the
board,
staff too, because they do plumbing.
that the board voted and approved. So I'm in support of amending that policy later on down the road. For this, I think that,
Amending the law that,
no. There's two different things. So the law requires the one address, period. We have our own internal policy that we passed. Now we're doing additional beyond our own internal policy, which we have the authority to edit and change as we wish.
But we haven't changed it yet.
Correct.
Are we working under the policy that we have now? Or are we talking about doing something that we need to do in the future?
I'm confused.
Shall I read?
We got three things. Yeah, why don't you read from the policy then?
So I'm very thankful to Attorney Drake and Ms. Till for pointing that out. So our policy, the procedure that we adopted last year, reads that if the challenger affirmatively states that the challenge is based upon the challenged voter's residency status at the time the challenged voter initially registered to vote. Is that where we are right now with this? Is the challenge based on the challenged voter's residency status at the time the challenged voter initially registered to vote?
So that we would have to go back and.
Okay, if not, then, so we spelled this out in our policy. I'm so thankful that y'all reminded me to bring this up. If they fail to affirmatively state in writing that the challenge is based on that, then we have policy to, it says what to do to follow that. So wait, are we saying that's not what this is about?
Wait a minute, Pam, the challenge. Did it come because of the voter ID that was received in the mail?
Yes.
Then yes, it was because of when the person registered to vote.
So when they initially registered to vote, okay, so here we go. The BOE shall send written notice via certified mail, return receipt requested to the challenged voter of the challenge at the registered address of the challenged voter, and provide the challenged voter with a copy of the challenge, a copy of the procedures, and the opportunity to provide information in response to the challenge within 10 days of the date of the notice. Going on, if the voter supplied a phone number or email address on the registration form or in other writings such as absentee ballot application received by the BOE, then, in addition to the notice provided for above, as soon as possible after receiving the challenge, the BOE will make at least 3 reasonable attempts, including at least 1 attempt during non-traditional working hours, to call or email the challenged voter to determine if the issue raised by the challenge can be resolved quickly, efficiently, and informally. So it seems like we already had it baked in, what you were driving at.
Yeah,
I have a question because I'm totally confused.
y'all are improved, you approved doing more than you're required to do, so that's good.
Yeah, that's good. But okay, so can I understand this? When this person made the challenge, what was it based on? The fact that he
The
got,
person doesn't live there anymore.
okay, so how did she know that? Okay, so what precipitated that? Did y'all send him something with a voter card in it?
His voter ID was mailed to that address. That's the address he used.
So how
But
did
he
he know
has
that
not
that
been
was?
living there since 2012.
Okay, so how did
Well, last
she,
hearing, when we had the
how
hearing,
did she know that that was what it was?
They're divorced.
they're the
I
board.
understand that, but did she open the mail up?
I think we ought
No,
to
she
do,
didn't open it.
I think we don't have the-
She did a return to sender,
Yes, she did a return.
return to sender, okay.
Yes, she brought back the ID.
to
The ID or the letter?
the ID, the letter.
Okay, I got you. I'm good. I'm good. I just worked at post out 34 years, but I just want to start out right, end right.
We know, yeah.
Okay?
My concern too is you don't have to live somewhere to be able to vote. So that's why I'm pushing back on this.
My concern, if I may speak,
Uh,
that you use the address that you know you don't live at in order to get the voter ID, and you have not lived there in years. That's a concern for me.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm not saying anything. I'm
I heard
just,
it pointed out, I'm gonna go by the attorney that, like, we're setting a date for a hearing, right? We got in the weeds over here because depending on the reason for the challenge, that dictates what our procedure says. So it seems like the procedure that we approved, that staff is ready to follow, will include what you were getting at. We have only to set a date, and the wheels start moving. Is that right?
correct.
The procedure kicks in when we set a date, if I've got that right.
And you.
But the action we need to take today is to set a date. Does someone have a suggestion on a date?
I think it was about an hour ago. There was a suggestion on the table, but I forgot what.
21st, wasn't it?
21st, I believe, was suggested.
So
20th or
next
21st.
Friday, just really like Friday afternoons.
I heard the supervisor's not gonna be here.
That's right, that's
So
right.
maybe do Thursday.
But is that also?
Oh, you're out of both days. Oh, then it doesn't matter.
Fifth?
19th and
The
18th.
19th.
Is that pushing too close to?
That's our
You gotta
BOE
give them
meeting.
3 days notice. Maybe you're gonna make it.
I was gonna say, that's cutting.
Maybe.
Of course, email is instant, right? They'll get an email.
That's true.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry,
And you don't have to set the date by that day. It said, well, your number 4 says that, that if the challenger states that the challenge is based upon blah, 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 that, the BOE shall send written notice via certified mail. Went on and on and on and on. To provide information in response to the challenge within 10 days of the date of the notice. So, yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah. I think the last date I will be here is on the 18th. So that means.
be here. Or wherever.
Yep, anytime, the 18th.
That means you gotta give them notice by the 13th. About, yeah, have 3 days. Is it 3 days or 3 business days? If it's 3 calendar days, you can have it by the 14th.
It would be ideal to do it tomorrow.
Send the notice tomorrow.
It would be ideal.
Attorney Drake, sorry. The attorney.
We're just waiting on a date, right? We got to.
Please.
Attorney Drake, I'm curious, like we've all pointed out, we want to be sure we do at a minimum what the code section requires. Such notice shall be served by first-class mail. Does that mean I have to receive that as the challenged? I have to receive it by 3 days before? Or it
It
needs to
wasn't
be?
clear to me the statute. I was reading that and it wasn't clear to me to say you had to have received it, you know? It
Because
doesn't
email,
say that.
email goes out,
Because email goes right away.
but the email's not in there. I see. So
I mean, so if I give you notice and you get your acknowledged notice, I call you on the phone or you know, is that notice? The statute is not clear on that.
Right. Like a deputy knocking on my door, that's serving.
Like if you're gonna be extra careful, I'd say, you know, you want to get return receipt, but see how workable is that?
Right, right. Am I serving you notice by sticking it in the mail? Or am I serving it when you pick it up and open it? I don't, so maybe is that too close then, the 19th?
The 18th was unconsidered.
Oh, 18th, that's 18th, I'm sorry, 18th was available. I can go the week after, but I don't know if we're talking about that. It sounds like the 18th is the last day, the latest day from now, we have the director available. And then we lose the director for,
I'm gonna step out here and say, I make a motion that on the 12th, it be mailed out.
Okay. What be mailed out? We need to decide.
Yeah, that the letter be mailed out for notification for this voter.
Yeah, I mean, you guys would do it first thing in the morning tomorrow anyway, regardless.
The date, we have that ready.
Oh,
Which is a good day.
We're ready.
Good date.
I just made a motion, so I'm.
The hearing.
Hearing, yes.
yeah, what hearing?
Got the mail out.
Yeah.
Hearing.
And the motion is a little out of order, I think. Yeah,
Well, I will draw my motion.
so, okay. The 17th, let's just name dates.
17th.
That just does not work for me. The 18th works okay-ish
Okay.
for me, but
I can be the 18th.
18th, good for
I'm
you
okay.
guys?
yeah, 18th.
I shook my head. I didn't hear.
Oh, I don't have, my eye was, my other eye was pointing that way, yeah.
That's what we're.
Okay. 4 o'clock?
18th?
Yeah.
I can be,
Actually, 4:30.
I can do 4:30.
That would be my preference, 4:30 and the 18th. Here or out?
I can't tell you about this room, but I
Oh,
know
sorry.
we can use the training room.
Let's just say Lexington Road. That way we know it's a guaranteed room.
So 4:30?
On the 18th, if Ms. Willow would like to make that motion, including her letter.
I would,
consent.
somebody else make that motion.
Do we have to include the date?
Of the hearing? Well, that's it. The hearing is the 18th.
Okay, that's.
When they get in the office in the morning, they're gonna send a letter.
Okay, so
Thursday.
tomorrow, we've already settled, they're gonna send it tomorrow.
Yeah.
To notify them about the 18th.
Yeah, they said the letter's sitting on their desk, ready to go.
Okay, Mr. Chair. I move that we hold a voter challenge hearing on Tuesday, July 18th at 4:30 p.m. at 555 Lexington Road.
So moved. Or you moved. I'll second it.
Okay.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. End of discussion. Next and final item on the agenda are announcements. We now have 3 meetings next week, so that'll be fun.
That might not be true.
The 18th, or is that another meeting?
The 20th has been postponed.
like, I like to see that.
Oh, the 20th was. The 20th is postponed? Oh, because she's traveling, right?
And the 19th might be postponed as well. It sounds like perhaps.
I'm gonna contact her tomorrow.
When you are.
I hadn't heard back from her yet. Contact her.
Yeah,
So is it proper, just leave it where it is now, keep it on our calendars?
Leave it right there and then we'll update it.
I don't think the school board members even know it's happening, so.
They received the notice.
Yeah, but the individual members that I've talked to, they had no clue about it. But anyway, so our next meeting is the 18th then? We just decided that. July 18th for our hearing. 4:30 PM to 555 Lexington Road. Keeping the 19th?
Keep it for now, I think is what we've been told.
Yes.
And I'll let you know something tomorrow.
It's the SD meeting.
Sorry. The next meeting after that is July 19th, a special meeting with the CCS, Clarke County School District School Board. And then the meeting on the 20th is canceled. Will be rescheduled. And then there's our regular meeting is on August 9th. And then there are 3 events that were listed in the director's report.
Oh. Regular meeting is Tuesday, August 8th.
Is that it? Or so our next regular meeting is Tuesday, August 8th at 4:30 PM. Okay, and then there are 3 events, August 16th, National Poll Worker Day, September 19th, National Poll Worker Day, October 1st through the 7th, National Voter Education Week.
Not made a mistake.
Registration. The day.
I'm just reading the agenda here.
The 19th is registration day. Voter registration, thank you. Sorry, Mr. Chair.
National Voter Registration.
September the 19th is National Voter Registration Day.
Okay. Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
Second, Ms. Till, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye.